And basically, as an artist, you work with the world that you live in and you reshape it. And how can you reshape it if you don't understand it?
Like when two people come together and they talk just for the sake of talking, I don't think that is as interesting
No,
as
no, but
going
sometimes people
somewhere.
come together, understand an idea to
Okay, but
let your
where
mind go somewhere it hasn't gone before. This is
well
why you play, and this is why it should always be the purpose of playing.
I would contend though that I think people don't think artists are doing anything useful, but like
Mm-hmm.
that is the exact problem that artists could solve. Artists could show like, well, we're doing this, but artists don't though. Artists don't show people like we're building society and like that. I see you have like art supplies behind you. You have like a color palette and
Yeah, this is like my studio, living room, and kitchen. 3 in 1.
that is very cool. I like your art a lot. Um I was just looking at your art and one thing I really like about it is that I was just thinking about how music has this fractal element, this like patternistic thing, and like your art kind of has that too,
Sorry.
where you have like oh no problem, where you have like patterns that kind of play out.
I've done a lot of geometry during the pandemics. Before the pandemics, I think I've done a few before. I really like it. I have a sense for it, I'd say. And it is like music. I feel all the patterns have a rhythm, and it's very interesting because I think in geometry, when you actually draw geometry, you kind of have to quiet your mind completely and just understand the rhythm of the lines. And then you kind of see how you need to connect them because first, it's very easy in geometry. It's just a circle and you put inside a hexagon or an octagon or something. And then basically everything is going to be perpendicular or parallel to some kind of line that's already in there. And if you just look at it and draw it naturally rather than counting how many points you need to skip to connect a star, it's easier. And I suppose, yeah, it's as you say, you can see that in my art because it's this rhythm of the lines.
Mm-hmm.
It was very difficult after about 1 year. I was doing intensive classes Thursdays and Sundays, so twice a week, and it was 3.5 hours of geometry. And usually we didn't really finish the pattern. It was just getting the structure there. But from that to actually being able to draw and paint freehand the patterns, that was a journey, I'd say.
What kind of patterns do you like learn from geometry? Like what kind of principles?
I've done a lot of classic at the of a lot of courses at the tradition at the it was the Prince, now it's the King's Foundation School for Traditional Arts. And I don't know, at first I've done the simple hexagonal basic structures, the stars, the octagon, the 12 fold, the 12 star. And they just, you have in Islamic you have a lot of patterns. I've done from Alhambra, I've done a lot of patterns.
So then there's like some things which are like you have a conscious understanding of how the patterns line up with each other, but you also
I
said that like
suppose, yes.
but but there's also you said an element where you don't want to like focus on the geometry too much. You want to like kind of like let it flow. You kind of want to just notice the stuff. So like when it comes into like when you have a pattern here and you want to like tie into the other thing over here, do you have things you look for that you can consciously um note as like, oh, I'm trying to make this fit this thing work together, or is it you want to do it by feeling more because you feel like that's more authentic?
It's always by feeling more, because I don't really know how to paint otherwise, to be fair. I haven't had the time to actually study art. And the geometry was just easy for me. But then, because I saw somebody at the school who was drawing freehand geometry, and it looked really, really good. And all the teachers also said this, because it's more beautiful when you actually draw a pattern, because you will not be able to keep it perfect, especially if it's a very complicated one. But it's more beautiful when you actually do those little mistakes rather than
Uh-huh.
you design it on a computer.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
based on that, that's the thing, because if you really understand it, and the patterns that I do is not like a mandala, it's a repeated one. And when it's a repeat, you don't really see, you just see the rhythm of it. Because then if you look, they look equal, but then if you start to look really, really closely at each little star, they're all very deformed. But you wouldn't notice that when it's a lot.
Well, it creates a very interesting effect that I think that not only could you not create by, like precisely doing the geometry. I don't think AI could even make this effect because it has that very human quality, like this this painting the dream, like these patterns that are going along here. They
Yeah.
feel exceptionally psychedelic because when you look at it, it's like they're they
The colors help a lot in that one also.
right, the colors are very, very strong and kind of they hold space very strongly. You have like a red that's very, very bold, and then but like the way the things are, they're the patterns feel so psychedelic because it's and I'm just kind of expressing what I see. This could be incorrect, but it's like it's reality, but it's also like a pattern in reality doesn't express itself like as authentically. So like you see a pattern in the sidewalk and it like if there's a joint like as I don't know how to explain it, but
Yeah,
like
but it's
if you're
not a sidewalk. That's the thing. Are you familiar with Persian miniature painting?
no.
Yeah, that's what they do in there. They don't paint like in Western art. When we developed art, we developed it to paint like a photo.
Uh-huh.
But in Islam and in the Persian miniature tradition, they draw it without shadows, and it's the
Yeah, yeah,
rules
yeah,
are
that's
that
it.
the sultan
Yeah.
is always on top of everybody and biggest than everybody else, and yeah, it's more of a higher hier- hierarchy thing rather than a perspective thing, and everything it's done yeah, very tiny and very detailed. The flowers and all the buildings have patterns on them, which are not very
Hmm.
difficult patterns to create. It's just a repeat of a very simple unit. And yeah, it's just this mesmerizing thing. And it's like, yeah, always in their art, it was always inside books and always with some kind of story, history, or poetry. And it was a depiction of something. And I really liked that idea.
Do you like know their stories? Do you know how those stories relate? Like how
No,
no? Okay.
no, I haven't really. I've read a book which I really, really loved and I truly recommend, which is My Name is Red by Orphan Pamuk. And it's a detective story, actually. One of the miniaturists at the Sultan's court is murdered, and his colleagues are trying to find out who and why um, killed him. And all they have is a little piece of paper with the nostril of a horse on it, and that was painted differently than the technique that they were using. And this was sort of the signature, because they were not allowed to sign their art, but everybody would paint slightly differently, sort of a line. And now they start to search for stuff. It's a really cool story, and it's a very beautiful description of their art versus our art in the West, and how philosophically is in a way the same and in a way different. Very beautiful book. It was yeah, truly inspirational for me.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, and it's easier to paint like this, to be fair, because as I said, because I didn't study art, I really don't know how to create shadows and effects. It's really, I can do it when I go to art classes and I'm under the supervision of a teacher, but otherwise, when I'm home, it feels a bit boring to pay attention all the time to what I'm drawing. And it's kind of
mhm.
easier to just, yeah, listen to a podcast and get lost in just repeating the same unit.
Well, it's I would say clearly the case that not following all those details isn't any worse. Like, because this is so interesting with like these very psychedelic, very musical type of patterns, like the star in the skies in this the River of Dreams. Like the stars are not like normal stars, where normal stars they have like
Oh, yeah.
very small points and like you know
There are
it's like
no those. You know what those are? They're little pieces of gold foil.
really
Yeah, I just teared it apart and just stuck it in there.
that is cool.
That's why it feels so, yeah, shiny.
And then like these textures are so alive too because from the distance, how much I can see here with the resolution,
Hmm.
um, it's like there's a texture, but there's also this um, like it's blurred upwards a bit. Like there's like maybe did you texture it and then like swipe up a bit, kind of scrape?
What are you looking at exactly?
I'm looking at this one with the fox and then the lady in the
And what
water,
part of the painting?
like the bottom of it, where it's like it feels so organic in a
Oh, yeah,
way.
that's a different brush,
Okay.
like a fan, and it just creates those sort of marks.
How do you decide how to compose it? Like, do you start maybe at one place and work all the way along, or do you touch points all over? Like, I see some of yours are like you're showing the base scratch. So do you start like at a layer down and then build out?
Yeah, it's in layers. Everything is in layers, and that's why you see it also psychedelically like this, because it refracts light in a way, because it's painted in layers.
Oh, is it watercolor?
It's oil painting, but I glaze in between the layers that I paint. So I basically always paint on wet,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a special glaze that I buy from Corneliuson's.
Very interesting. There's
Yeah,
something which kind of shimmers and sparkles about this River of Dreams one. It
yeah, it's a lot of colors and dots. There are many
mm-hmm.
many dots.
um it's like the um like there's these bright components, but they're kind of everywhere except for you've even textured the water with like these kind of swirls.
Oh, yeah,
Um
yeah, there are swirls in the water, and it's how they paint it in the Persian miniatures. All the rivers will have these crazy swirls in them.
mm, and
But yes, Persian miniature traditionally is painted in watercolors, but
oh
it's
really?
painted in watercolors in a dry technique, which again is very different than for us in the West, where we paint watercolors really watery and loose.
What got you onto Persian art?
Is that book I've told you really?
Okay.
It's very, very beautiful. I don't know how to describe it, and I've read it like 20 years ago, I think. I really don't remember much. But it's very beautifully written, and I think every miniaturist at the court, his name is a color, and the main character is black, and each chapter is called My Name is Black, or My Name is Green, or I am the dog. Sometimes the dog tells the story, or the pub. I think there's a pub who also tells a story at one point. A very interesting book.
And in the book, one of the premises is that the detectives are finding who committed the crime by their art, because the way they paint kind of has this signature to it.
I can't give you the spoiler, and then you can cut it
Okay.
out if you want. Should I give you the
Yeah, I think so. I would be
yeah.
surprised if somebody was watching this, they were going to read the book and then they got it spoiled.
Okay, yeah, there it goes. They do find eventually who killed him. It was, I don't remember exactly who, it was one of the other painters. And it was because this particular miniaturist, the one that got killed, was painting a portrait of the Sultan in the Western art. And this was like a huge blasphemy. And the whole story is because they are starting to catch traces of Western art hidden in places until they get there. And the story is built around the philosophy between their art with painting everything. And it was like this, if you were one of the famous miniaturists and you wouldn't go blind when you were old, they would sometimes blind themselves, because otherwise it would be considered that they haven't painted enough, and they kind of ghosted instead of actually doing the work. Yeah, really tough story otherwise.
That idea of preserving a culture by resisting influence from other cultures, do you think there's a utility in that?
I think the two should not exclude each other. I
So,
don't see why they, yeah, I know there's a conflict, and it's always been a conflict between the old and the new, but I truly think they should always go hand in hand. Because for me, I'm able to paint these paintings, even though I haven't really studied art. I only went to a few classes. Because there I learned the technique, like strictly the technique. And it gives so much freedom when you actually know how to paint and how to use the colors, because the colors are they're like chemistry, they're very different. Some of them are opaque, some of them are transparent, some of them dry really fast, some of them dry really slow. And it's also in the underpainting, how you build the contrasts and the lights and the shadows, and how you position everything. And then, yeah, because if you want to have, like in the Renaissance, when they were having those portraits that look very much alive and like coming towards you, in the shadows, it's always painted very transparent. And in the lights, the brighter and the closer it is to you, it's more and more opaque. And if you paint it like this, you will create a very beautiful effect on before the foreground and the background. So it's really a lot of stuff that comes together. It's not just one thing.
it's transparent on what? Like you're painting a translucent thing. Are you saying that when they paint a shadow, they're painting a translucent dark texture that allows the lower painting to bleed through it?
Yeah, so raw amber and burnt amber, but mostly raw amber, is quite transparent. So when I start, if you go on my website, there is somewhere in there is a section where I have the in work photos, which is just that raw amber, and then I use lead white. I discovered lead white, and then I couldn't go back to anything else because it just flows differently. I don't know how to explain it. It's again a matter of feeling. And yeah, when I do the underpainting, I usually do 3, 4, 5 layers of underpainting first, in which I really put together, or I move things around sometimes. It happens that if I paint a chair or an armchair I've painted and it just didn't look right, I moved it 2 times, and then I cover that sort of in the underpainting, and then when I come with the color, it stays beautifully where it should stay. But it gives a lot of freedom, this raw umber, and specifically because it's transparent and you can move things around one layer after another. Then, yeah, you don't need a lot of color. And there is a pigment called caput mortuum, which I think basically it's hematite rock that is very, very opaque. Whatever it is underneath, you will not see it anymore if you touch it with a little bit of caput mortuum. It kills any color underneath, everything that's underneath it.
So
and also very, very matte. It's not shiny at all. It's very weird.
oil painting gives you something which, for example, watercolors or whatever they're called, the regular paints don't give you.
You don't have the freedom in watercolors. Watercolors are very, very beautiful and you can create absolutely amazing things with them. But they don't really give the freedom of moving things around and hiding. And
Yeah, I'm thinking about
yeah,
the other type, like not watercolor, but like water-based paint.
I haven't really tried.
Acrylic.
Oh, I
Acrylic
hate
paint.
acrylic. Acrylic is basically like a plastic, so I don't really like it. Just doesn't feel right.
Doesn't feel right. Can you not get the same results with acrylic that you get with oil
No,
paint?
never. Because you
Really?
really do the layers in acrylic. No. Oh, as a water base, what is water base? And I haven't really done any class on that because I feel like it would be a bit much, but maybe I should do one. Is egg tempera. And apparently, egg tempera is the longer lasting medium, not oils. And I think it also preserves the pigment in the color better over time.
Isn't oil painting significantly more difficult? Doesn't it take lots more time and
Not
think
really.
no?
You can say it takes longer because sometimes you paint and then you need to wait until the next day or for 2 days for it to dry.
Mm-hmm.
But you can paint, you can work on other paintings in the meantime. So if you have 5 or 6 paintings that you're working on in the same time, it just flows.
Mm-hmm.
Depends on what you want to paint. It's more easy or more difficult to do it in a specific medium. I don't think that's one that you can say it's more difficult or more easy. It really depends on what you want to achieve.
This picture I'm looking on your website called The Border. It has a chess looking pieces kind of.
Yes.
This is very surreal in a way because I mean, I don't know what you were intending when you painted this, but so you have like this kind of chess like pieces on this in a forest on a tiled path. What is this?
It's a chessboard mainly that I bought in Prague and I really, really like. And I wanted to paint it for a long time. And then I brought it from Bucharest to UK. I was just playing with it. And it looked good how I've arranged the horses and the main figures like that. And I thought it actually looks good to paint it. But then I didn't want to do it cliche like on a chessboard.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, okay, I'm going to make a pass, like more in The Wizard of Oz.
Mm-hmm.
It was not going to be golden, it was going to be like the chess. And then if you look closely, behind the trees are the bishops. which is very interesting because in Romanian, for the bishop, we call it the fool, actually. So it was supposed to be like the fool that always follows the king around to amuse the king.
Mm-hmm.
Now they are eavesdropping in the woods. But then it's also interesting as they are the bishops, because it reminds me of a book, another book that I really, really liked, which is Jose Saramago's The Cathedral. It was something with the cathedral something.
They're very, very hiding. They're not like artistically hiding. Like I think these would hide from people. I couldn't
Yeah,
see them when you first mentioned it.
yeah, I know. I've intentionally edited them in very, very subtle.
I get a
Like,
feeling when I look at your paintings like they're suggesting kind of a whole new world. Like this chess thing, kind of the way they're all sitting here like this feels kind of almost personified, where it feels like like these are creatures of a chess world and they're just here right now kind of having a conversation. And
yeah, they're supposed to be like that. Yeah,
yeah.
like the secrets. Like it's always secrets everywhere.
Whoa, this painting. This is this is called a self-portrait in a different time and place. It's a
Oh,
tree.
that one. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It has like roots that wow. This is interesting to me because this is these kind of cutaway paintings. This is maybe not anything to do with why you do this, but these kind of cutaway paintings are really interesting to me because I am like developing a video game and it's like a 2D game where like exactly like this tree you have here is what I would have in the game, like trees that you can see the roots and all this stuff.
Mhm.
Feels like there's a lot of implicit meaning in this because there's just a lot of symbolism. You have a
Yeah, I suppose there is a lot of symbolism in that one. And it's also, yeah, not very hidden. I think that's why it's very catchy also.
mhm. How do
Again, a
you?
lot of gold.
So what'd you say?
Again, a lot of gold to make sure
Do
that it shines.
these these probably look different in real life than on computer because of all the
Yeah,
different.
yeah, depending on the light and how the light shines on them.
How do you feel about your own paintings? Do you have a favorite? Do you go through different times where you like one, where you like another? Is it different after you've painted it versus while you're painting it, like the feeling of it, where like you then sort of do some paintings have kind of a magical element where they seem to reflect things back that over time?
Yeah, yeah, it's more like, yeah, as you said, it's the feeling and the stories. Because, yeah, I like looking at them, and sometimes if you follow the colors, they tell you some things in a way. Like in the one with the Minotaur, if you follow the red, it takes you from the chair up to the roots. And it's also in the branches, even though you don't see it probably from afar.
And wait, you said what goes up to the roots?
The red, you see, there's a specific red in the chair.
Oh, yeah.
And then if you follow it up the roots, it's also a little bit mixed in the tree trunk,
Mm-hmm.
very subtle. And then it goes in the branches of the tree.
Mm-hmm. What are the little okay. What is What is the Minotaur doing sitting under the ground?
It's
What?
basically the shadow, I'd say.
It's the what?
The shadow, Jung's shadow.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I didn't read. Yeah, it says that in the description, I think.
Yeah. And yeah, this painting has an interesting story. I went to, there is this company, theater company called Punch Drunk, and they do immersive shows sometimes. And they had one in London called The Burnt City, which was about the fall of Troy. And it was a very interesting, there were about 30 characters in the show, and it was this huge immersive space that you would run around. And it was, I don't know, a flower shop, a hotel, a big town square, a small town square, different rooms. How is it called? Hades had an office there, and there was an underground under his office. And there was Kronos, to be fair. Yeah, the Minotaur was with Kronos. And you had like one-on-one experiences when the performer would take you behind the locked room, and sometimes they would give you something, sometimes they would give you drinks, sometimes they would leave something with you or tell you a secret part of the show. And this one with Kronos was a very interesting one-on-one, because basically they were sponsored by a Porsche. So they had the back of a Porsche 911 in there. And you would lay on the back on a platform, and the platform would go underneath the Porsche, and you were with the performer at this time. And the pipes of the car slowly turned into a maze, and there were like little soldiers pinned in there upside down in the maze. And when you finally reached the center where there was the Minotaur, the lights went black. And then the performer would guide you between these plastic curtains like they have in butcher shops. And then one point in there was this big, huge Minotaur head. It was really cool. I really loved that 101. I absolutely loved it. A lot of people were screaming when they found the Minotaur. You could hear them from the show space. Yeah.
No.
So that's where I got the inspiration from that painting, to be fair. It was that 101 and all that journey with Kronos, who was basically asking Polymestor, another character in the show, to kill a young boy, the youngest son of the Queen of Troy. And it was an interesting. The music, absolutely beautiful, and the set. I loved that set so much. I really miss it.
You miss it because you used to go like multiple times, or
I did develop a little bit of an addiction, but it was huge. I mean, you could go there for 3 hours. It was the whole thing. And you didn't really have time in 3 hours to do much, because it was huge. It was absolutely huge, the set. And there was Troy in one part, one big building was Troy, and the other big building was Mycenae, where the Greeks came, and the small corridor where basically the Greeks navigated towards Troy. It was really cool and absolutely huge. There was a beach with real sand, a maze of tents where the army camped.
I don't know if I connected the dots or understood how did the Minotaur relate to all that.
Well, it was based on Greek myths, to be fair. So it was Kronos, it was Hades, the king of the underworld, which also had a very interesting one-on-one. And I did have that one-on-one with two different performers, and it was absolutely beautiful. They were so different.
Well, the story of Troy isn't it the Trojan
It's
horse,
the
the
Iliad,
classic?
basically.
It's a what?
The Iliad. I
The
think, yeah, the
Iliad.
Iliad is the story, is the battle for Troy, and the Odyssey is the journey of Ulysses. I don't know how it's pronounced in English.
That's a story then I'm guessing that has more depth than people know about the Trojan horse, but is it like a Homer story that has like a kind of a bunch of different characters and stuff?
Yeah, but they kind of mixed it. They've done, I don't remember exactly which two Greek theater shows or by whom. I'm sorry, yeah, I don't remember. But they've mixed it together, and it was basically a dance show, a performance show. Very few characters. Hades would talk, and Persephone would also talk sometimes. Kronos never talked. And then Polymestor talked a little bit, and you basically had Agamemnon with the army and his wife Clytemnestra and their daughter, I forgot how the daughter is called. And now Agamemnon needs to sacrifice the daughter in order to please goddess Artemis, which I don't remember why he had upset previously. And yeah, Artemis was there, and also you had the god Apollo in there that was playing tricks with mortals. Oh yeah, you had the characters split. There were the gods, the mortals, and basically the side characters. The one that saved at the sake bar, and there was another girl at the coffee shop, and they had like a little romance together. But they were like very beautiful stories. But side characters. Campe is the very beautiful she dragon that Hades created to guard the Cyclops. Hades, Cyclops. Ah, yeah. I've started to study Greek mythology after that, because basically you had all these famous Greek mythological characters, and they had like a little part in the show. And the show basically was Agamemnon killing his daughter, and then the storm began, and then he navigated to Troy. And in the meantime, Kronos was asking Polymestor to kill the last male in the Troy royal family, while the Queen of Troy was asking the same Polymestor to keep the child alive. And then Agamemnon invades, Kronos kills the boy, and then Agamemnon allows the Queen of Troy to take revenge on Polymestor and blind him at the end of the show. And it basically ends when Hades welcomes Persephone back in the underworld. You know, Hades and Persephone.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
loosely. I kind of know some of the
basically,
names, but
he's the king of the underworld, and he falls in love with
hmm
Persephone, who's the daughter of Hera, who is the goddess of agriculture, basically, on Earth. And Hades tricks Persephone and takes her in the underworld, and then Hera, I think Hera, is very, very upset, and a famine strikes Earth. And then I think Zeus, in order to convince her to be good again and bring the crops back so the humans don't die, he promised to bring Persephone back unless she has eaten something from the underworld. And then Hades tricks her, and she eats two pomegranate seeds. And because she eats this little bit of pomegranate, now she needs to return for 3 years, 3 months each year. She needs to return for 3 months in the underworld. And this is basically how the seasons come. Because when it's winter, it's because Hera is upset, because Persephone is with Hades in the underworld. But Hades is also the god of everything that's in the earth, all the gold, the metals, the minerals, everything. And I've specifically painted the Minotaur painting to be only with the metals and earth pigments, nothing like organic flowers or bugs or anything else.
when you're kind of capturing a mythology like that or an idea, does it feel like you're um enchanted by kind of the elements which are mysterious, or is it the elements that are very coherent that kind of drive the interest? Like do you paint more out of trying to experimenting with things that you don't really understand, or do you paint more out of wanting to express the aesthetics of things which you do understand?
It's about the relations between the two, I'd say more. There needs to be mystery and there needs to be some kind of experimenting. I usually experiment with colors because I don't have the, how do you say, I haven't painted enough to master the colors. So it's always a little bit of experimenting in there. It's always a little bit, sometimes I just use leftover colors because I don't want to throw them away. And I think, oh, this green, maybe I can add a little bit of touches here and there. And they, just organically come together. And I never really work only on one painting. Depending on, what I've done the week, or what book I've read, or what I'm feeling. I just work, one on or another painting. And some things are very well defined, but they never get down on the canvas as I see them in my imagination. And it's very beautiful how they transform, because I start painting them and it becomes very organic depending on what's in the surroundings. Everything sort of changes to all the areas to embrace each other, the characters and the background. They kind of need to sit together and communicate something to each other.
How much is like exploratory discovery kind of accident, and then how much is planned?
I'd say about 70% is planned and 30% is exploratory. But then I've done a series of paintings in which I've put silver on the background. Those will be more exploratory rather than, because it's really nice, because if I put the silver on the background and then I put the glaze on top, it goes dark but not uniformly. And then if I follow those shadows that appear, then some interesting stuff happens. I am looking forward to play more with those sort of silvery background scenarios, I'd call them.
Reminds me a bit of music, how I like improvise and make stuff up, how there's that element, how there's the interface between what I'm kind of discovering and also my intention. Um, do you think Peterson Academy could provide courses on art that are do you think they could do that? I'm asking that because art is largely changing. First of all, it's changing very, very rapidly. So like you do an art course and the movements change and stuff like this. It's also esoteric.
Yeah, it's not even if it's esoteric or if it's about a movement. I think the secret is in learning the foundations on how to do things and how to do them right. It's like basically like learning how to write. If you know how to write beautifully, I mean, it doesn't even need to be very beautiful, but people need to understand at the first glance what you've written in there in order for you to get your message across. And I think in art is the same. You basically need to learn the traditional technique and then you can do whatever you want to do with it. You have that freedom once you know it. I did recommend a professor that I've studied oil painting with. I don't know if they contacted him or not. But to be fair, because I'm planning to resign next week from work. I'm planning to do a YouTube channel with art stuff because it's
Very
really
cool.
difficult.
It's very difficult.
No, you just need a few materials, a few specific materials. And then those things really open up to a lot of possibilities with a minimum investment, I'd say, financially, because otherwise it can get very expensive very, very fast.
What do you think art does in society?
It should change the perspective, but I don't. It's become very commercial nowadays, I'd say. Very cheap.
I wonder if
But it's not cheap, that's the paradox. But it's also, it is and it's not cheap, and it's a paradox.
well, artists largely are trying to make money, which is the opposite of art, because in art you try to share something, and then when you try to make money, you want to share as little as possible because you want to give it out in little bits.
But they don't really make money, that's the thing with the money, because it's always, I think it's the galleries that make the money, not the artists.
Mhm.
And the people who have the connections. I think art is still about the connections. I had a very, very weird and bad interaction with I've just finished the painting with the three doors. Is the first one that I've done, like properly finished. And
Which painting, sorry?
the one with the three doors and a lot of geometry.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, so and I went to a geometry thing. It was only a 1 day thing, and then I've met this woman there, and she told me that she's like artist in residence to some kind of foundation, and they are doing this contest about Axis Mundi. It was the theme, and I said, yeah, well, with the Axis Mundi, with that thin red line that I have in there, with the doors, the decisions, I say, I think I have something that might be in accordance with your theme. And she said, yeah, apply. So I've applied and I've won the contest. And then it turned out it was such a huge scam, and I couldn't believe it. I could not believe what was happening. They've promised they'll build a website, that they'll organize an exhibition, that they'll push my profile to different galleries. But then as we progressed, and I've recorded a podcast with them, which was so boring. I couldn't even send it to my friends. I could not make anybody sit through that. It was unbelievably boring, and they were not asking me basically anything. And I've realized after I filmed the podcast that they were really, really upset because they wanted to get from me this depressed artist and how difficult it is to be an artist, and how much the artist struggles in society. And like I was, well, luckily I've done engineering and I have these finances and I have the money to buy all these really funky materials and play around with them. And I don't think they really liked that. And I felt bullied in the end. It was so weird, very, very weird.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and then I eventually have done a website, closed that website, built the current website that I have now. And in the meantime, I've also done a residency. And that was really cool. The people were really, really nice, and I really liked that. But they were basically trying to make us comfortable with the idea that, yeah, you'll need to basically kiss a few asses to get somewhere. And if you want to uh, if you want an exhibition with a gallery, you kind of need to find the galleries and walk in and sweet talk them. That was, oh God, no. I was hoping to get out of the corporate world, to get out of that very, very fake environment, and this was an even faker environment. Oh, difficult. So I've decided, yeah, now I'll see. I'll try to do a YouTube channel with the art instruction.
What do you think about this idea? Because I have this feeling and I have a solution. So I think there's a problem, a quasi problem. Like it seems like a problem to me that like the artists, the most creative people, kind of have the most difficulty um doing art in a way that is monetizable for them. And I
Yeah.
wonder, I wonder if okay, I'll let you go. Yeah.
No, because this is exactly what they were saying at the art residency. Because now, before, when I was reading Marques biography or Losa biography and stuff, it was like you would go to the artist pub, and then you'd meet other artists and poets and performers and have this artistic life. But nowadays, no, you need to know how to build a website, you need to know how to do marketing, you need to know how to write a blog, you need to create a newsletter, and sometimes between all of these you need to find time to actually create something if you're not too tired.
Mm-hmm.
Which, yeah, I think it's exactly what you're saying.
Well, I wonder if a solution to this is sort of I wonder if the actual core of the problem is that people aren't doing that much stuff. Like lots of people are really just trying to make money. They're not trying to build innovation. Like if I imagine a
Oh,
future
yeah,
world,
definitely.
right? If I imagine a future world where like people are kind of working together more, um, so architectures, they're not just trying to make money to build houses, they're trying to like build innovative things where the structure then provides life to the society because the structure kind of provides this. The engineers are engineering ways to make to collect resources so people don't have to work, so that like if everybody's like working towards this like vision of making things better, then I think suddenly art is very interesting again, because then the artists can create things that kind of uh reflect this future back to the engineers, back to the different people, and then there's this reciprocal relationship. But right now it seems like art's not interesting to people because people think I want money, and they look at art and they're like, I don't see how that gives me anything.
But they don't really teach art in art schools anymore, and that's also a big issue. I was incredibly lucky that somehow I was brought by the universe here in London, and actually, it's a very easy commutable route to go to the art school where I go. Because I don't think in art schools they actually teach the traditional painting techniques right now. Whereas before in art school, they would teach you the foundations for oil painting, for acrylics, watercolors, for a lot of stuff, for doing the prints, the etching. There's a lot of techniques. Yes, egg tempera, gouache, pastels. Yeah, quite a lot. But now I think it's more like, yeah, discover your inner self and stuff like that, and
Mm-hmm.
just play, play, play. But the artists don't really have whom to learn from, and that's also a big issue.
Well,
Because
maybe
as you
that
say, it's difficult. There are some very good artists out there if you actually look for them.
could that problem play into the solution with monetizing art to a degree, because couldn't the process of educating people
Oh, I heard, what I've heard in Ireland? I think they want to do like a minimum income for artists.
oh,
I think
interesting.
would be really cool.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah,
very
that would be really cool. I think we deserve that.
uh yeah, it seems like it seems like that might solve a deep problem because artists, if artists are locked into having to stay alive,
Yeah, that's the
I
thing. 'Cause it's about the money in the end. You need the money to have like a normal life.
right, but when you have to have them, when you have to, everything's about money, that's where people start selling out. Like then it's like really hard for artists. They have to go into like, I think artists sometimes have to go into like the dark night of the soul or stuff just to get past that point. Because if you're like a new artist and you're going into the field, you you have a problem. It's like, well, in order to make money, you have
Yeah,
to
you
like
have a
immediately
problem.
sell out.
You know what is it with the artist? I think you also really need to be good at what you're doing. And I think a lot of them are just painting on repeat. They're not
Uh-huh.
actually good at what they're doing.
They're not innovating.
But they
Interesting.
want the money, yes. And then, as you say, if the goal is are the money, then you're not really focused on art. And the true ones, I've read this year, it was very beautiful, Lynch, David Lynch's biography.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know David Lynch, the Twin Peaks guy?
Let me just double check.
Mulholland Drive.
I know the name. I just gotta.
Yes, he's done this, and it was quite the
Yeah.
struggle to get the money. And because he was very, very charming, I think people actually gave him the money. And he's done Elephant. No, Elephant Man was the second movie, which was very difficult for him to make because it was his second movie, and he had to work with Anthony Hopkins, who was like Sir Anthony Hopkins. And why do I have to work on a black and white movie with this dude who's 20 years old, something? Yeah, but the first movie was Eraserhead, and he literally, I don't remember if it was because yeah, at one point when people were telling him, "Oh, I've seen Eraserhead," he was, "Oh God, no, they're gonna throw me out." Very weird movie. I haven't seen that one. I've watched Twin Peaks a few times.
I don't even know his movies, but he strikes me as like a real artist. Kind of, he's just the way he
Oh
is.
my God, which one with the purple something, Blue Velvet? Oh my God, Blue Velvet kind of scarred me for life. And Mulholland Drive is absolutely, it's one. Yeah, I'll need to rewatch that at one point when I'll have the courage. Very weird, but very, very symbolistic. Mulholland Drive.
Okay, so
Yeah, Lynch.
you you're saying effectively that artists don't have a problem with making money. There's just not really good artists. Like most people who are like good
Yeah,
artists, they're not really good artists.
it takes a lot of courage to actually go for your vision and actually do like a series as Twin Peaks, because people look at Twin Peaks nowadays, and yeah, it looks old and maybe a bit long, but they don't think the impact it had when it was actually launched. And the fact there is a soap opera basically in the series, and it starts like who killed this girl, and then it turns to be about the evil in the world and these spirits in the woods and UFOs, and it's just absolutely wild what's happening. And the first dream that Agent Cooper has, it's with him and Laura, the girl who died, and they're older. And she tells him, "I'll see you in 25 years." And then in 25 years, he does the third season and actually the finale of the whole series. It's absolutely amazing. And the third season of Twin Peaks, that's absolutely, a cinema masterpiece. But it's a very, I think it's, you need to have a very open mind towards abstract to sit through that. But if you actually understand it, it's wild what's going on in there.
Okay.
Very maps of meaning, I'd say. Yeah, very,
Yeah,
very
yeah, yeah.
maps of meaning kind of stuff.
Deep symbolically. So now if it is the case that like uh, that you just have to be a good artist, um I feel like there's a self-looping problem that happens in art though, which is that artists it, that there is this like gap between good artists and bad artists. But in order to become a good artist, you have to like maybe engage in the right circles or like learn information, which is not like immediately clear how to get that information. And then if this is the case that um you need to kind of have information to be a good artist, you have to have information or esoteric gnosis, like you have to be embedded in the right circles or something, then artists are actually highly incentivized to learn from themselves, but to not leave a trail behind as they go. So I think that the the artistic community can be very, very esoteric, where they don't want to help each other because their amount of money they make is dependent on other people not being
Yeah,
good artists.
I've had teachers like that. And it's so weird. Yeah, there are the teachers that I like to return to and study with. But I have come across a few teachers who would just they would give you some bits of information and then they would tell you like, yeah, the rest you'll have to figure out yourself because basically that's how I've learned and I'm
Hmm.
not going to tell you the secret. Which is very it's horrible when you when you find a teacher like that. Absolutely horrible.
I think it's a self-generating problem because if if artists share with each other and then art gets really, really good, you think, yeah, the competition's higher, it's more difficult. But then if art is playing into society, then society gets better. And then maybe those things happen where artists get a minimum wage income. Like you get to innovate. And then additionally, it's a self-generating problem that I don't know.
Yeah, no, with art, the problem with art is that you need to feel it more than try to get something conscious out of it. And I think that requires training. And it's definitely that it's not being promoted, not with the children movies nowadays, which are very, very light. I mean, I think us probably we're more or less in the same generation. I grew up with really grim stories. They were very bloody, and there were a lot of people dying in the stories of Brothers Grimm and what else? We had the Nils Holgersson. I loved the Nils Holgersson. Courage the Cowardly Dog. Oh, I absolutely loved that show. Creepy
Th-
cartoons, but I really, really like them. And yeah.
There's another
Um.
thing that's
Yeah.
happening in the relationship between the audience and art, where it feels like people now don't want to be the observer; they want to be the creator.
Because
Um,
that's what's being promoted, and when you hear this, and you're thrown in this competition, and I think a lot of parents throw the children in the competition also. Definitely East European. Oh, the very, very. It's life is a competition always for East Europeans.
well, what I mean though is that I have this feeling that I had a progression, a psychological progression, where I went from being more interested in consuming art to being more interested in creating art, where I d- I don't want to engage in art, which is this. It's not even art. I don't want to engage in stuff which is just there to kind of make me feel good.
I know what you mean.
I want to myself be a part of like movement. So if I'm just participating in art and it's not part of like my progress, then I'm like, oh, I'm not interested. And so then for artists, this is a problem because if you're an artist and you like want to create something, you create something and you go, well, look at this. And the
Hmm.
person themselves is thinking kind of what I'm thinking. And they're thinking, I like it, but like, I don't want to just be the witnesser. I want to be the one who's doing it.
Yeah, that's where Punch Drunk draw their audiences. Unfortunately, they're very expensive and the shows don't last very long because as an audience, you are also participating in it. And those one-on-ones that I've told you with Chronos and the one-on-ones with Polymestors were really, really interesting. Oh, and I think they also had an android in there, not a Greek. In between all those Greek mythological creatures, I think there was also an android. But you were participating and you were sometimes guiding the performers, which was sort of scripted. You couldn't have done anything to create a new script, but still, yeah, it was very powerful because, as you say, you were participating and the feelings were real, even though, and you knew, and Hades was telling you, this is everything here is fake, but in a real sense it's much better than the real world. And it was better because it was scripted, but because you could also participate in that script. And I think this is how artists should see their artistic journey. And sometimes I do see life as a huge immersive experience. And when you travel from one country to another, everything is so different, to be fair. And as you say, when I was in Bucharest, I had the exact same feeling that you were describing, that, yeah, I see this art, but I want to participate in it. And after I've moved in London, somehow I wanted to go see more art because there's so many good stuff here and so many good paintings here. And yeah, you just, they humble you, to be fair, the ones I've seen in National Gallery. It's a pity it's always so crowded and you can't really experience the whole artistic show because of the crowds, but still. And I think it depends with the artist also. It depends a lot on where you lived. I don't think that I would have ever been able to accomplish what I've accomplished in arts if I haven't moved here close to London to have access to these experiences. But it's very difficult, as you say, as an artist, if you don't really have, and if you're not in a city that teaches you how to look at things from a lot of different perspectives. It's very difficult to come with all of that by yourself. And I think art has become a very lonely practice, unfortunately. But it shouldn't be a lonely practice. And one more thing that I don't agree with is the fact that they don't teach a lot of science in art schools. And I think, yeah, the fact that artists don't learn more science, it's one of the reasons they really struggle afterwards, because science teaches you how to solve problems, and you need to solve a lot of problems if you're going to be an artist in the world. And you just don't have the training without all the sciences. As you were saying, they do need to come together, but they do need to come together at a much earlier stage in school when you learn the subject, not after that, when it's already two different groups of people that studied very different things and suddenly they have to work together. It will be very difficult because they would not understand each other's ways of thinking and working and acting, I think, also. Yeah. Oh my god, the corporate world, you need to be a very good actor to survive in there, I'd say.
I agree that that integration with science and stuff is potentially very useful in art. I feel though that like the core issue is this feeling artists have of um it's almost like a predatory thing where the artist wants to be the one who creates the thing and then has other people view it, so they don't want to give away that creative process. But this is where I was looping back. I'm going to loop back to the thing
Mm-hmm.
that I had failed to articulate. But this is why I think it's a reciprocating problem where they create their own problem. So if artists were trying to give as much to people as possible, so like they were doing art, but then they were explaining like all their intricate like wisdoms and how they do it, that artist would then, be quite successful. So like artists think they're like, well, we should we should keep it more esoteric, not give away the information so that the good artists can make money. But if artists were like giving away as much as they could, as fast as they could, as fast as they can, then it seems like the artists would do better because then they would be engaging with something where people are like immediately like they're like they're not just like, oh, I'm just viewing. They feel like, well, I'm learning, like with engaging with this art, I'm myself becoming an artist.
Yeah, it should be about that, but it takes skill to do that. And as I said, I think if you don't have a mind for the sciences, you won't really be able. It's going to be very difficult to do that.
Oh, that's why you're saying that. You think you need to have a
Yeah, because I
scientific
study
mindset?
sciences, and I've had a friend who went to art school, and I had to, yeah, my parents said no art school sciences. I mean, no, they just said no to arts, and then I said okay, then I think sciences would be the next thing that I'm good at, and I've taken that path. But it really opened it opened my mind. It really, yeah, mathematics and physics, they really opened my mind because they helped me understand the world that I live in. And basically, as an artist, you work with the world that you live in and you reshape it. And how can you reshape it if you don't understand it? I think you need to, because as you say, art should be a participatory, yeah, an experience in which you participate. But what experience are you going to create when you don't really understand the world around you? You see, I don't know if I'm making sense, but
Yeah,
I
you are.
think,
You are making sense.
yeah, the two go hand in hand. And many artists that I've met are just lost and they just want to party. And it's about, yeah, and I don't know how many artists actually read. And to be fair, because you mentioned Peterson Academy, I was expecting there would be more artists in Peterson Academy, and I was expecting more artists to share on the quad interesting pieces of music and interesting movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I will make a post soon. I'm really curious if somebody will answer. I've watched The Lobster a few days ago, which is a very weird movie. And it would be very interesting to discuss it from a Petersonian kind of view. It's about relationships. There's basically two ideologies. One that you're not really allowed to live if you don't have a partner, and one that you really shouldn't have a partner. It's very, very weird movie. Yeah, and I was really expecting more people on the quad sharing and recommending this sort of movies, which you watch and you might be find them boring a little bit when you watch them, but then they somehow stay with you and you keep thinking about what you've seen. They're very There are actually a lot of movies like that out there, but they're not easy to find.
My feeling with movies is I don't watch many movies. When you said before, like sharing pieces of artwork, um, that's something I'm probably going to do is share my musical stuff with the quad. But when it comes to sharing movies, I I generally don't like want to watch movies because I don't think I'm gonna get anything from it because like I'm trying to go
Yeah,
someplace.
that's
So
the
it's
thing, but they're very difficult to find. But if you find those, I mean, this one, the lobster, is, I think you need a little bit of training for one like this. But look, I've shared a link on YouTube recently. You should try and watch that one.
okay.
It's very sweet. It's easy to watch because it's sweet, but it's also very, very deep. And it's
Okay.
about life and death and the music because it's Gogol Bordello, and it's kind of esoteric, as you were saying. It brings that esoteric kind of view, and it's literally a different perspective about life. And I think as an artist, this is how you should learn to see life. Sometimes, like, you're in this, yeah, wrist cutters, it's called, the movie. you're like in this environment, because you are sometimes things are really, really gloomy and you don't feel like you should be there, and you are trying to find a way out. And sometimes, yeah, they're more sometimes Jojo Rabbit is also a very, very powerful movie. It's about the perspective of a 10-year-old child, I think, about Hitler and Nazism. Very good one, Jojo Rabbit. And the music, again, amazing. But now it's just, yeah, it's very, very difficult to go to the cinema nowadays. I usually go once a year to the cinema. And I'd say once a year, you will find a good movie in the cinemas. But it's once a year, so yeah, it's not going to be easy to find the exact one and time it right.
Yeah, that's why I don't do is like, yeah, maybe there are some movies that I come across. I'm just like, wow, that's
And
phenomenal, but it just
exactly,
seems
that's what
rare.
I was saying. I was expecting the quad to be sharing this kind of music and movies.
That's a difficult thing though, because like you said with this one, like you're like, maybe people have to have a certain background to actually be able to understand it. Like people are kind of like all at
Yeah,
different
but you
levels.
know, different levels, but we are in the Peterson Academy. There is a certain standard of classes and there's a certain standard of subjects that we study in there. So I would expect that people who study these subjects to have their mind opened enough. Even look, something even more commercial, which is the Young Pope. That is a very powerful series, and it's about Christianity and the Vatican. And that would be a really fun discussion, but I don't think anybody on Peterson Academy actually watched that. And it's Jude Law, I mean, come on. It's very. And the director, Sorrentino, he's been quite famous this few years. So, yeah, I would expect somebody who watches Maps of Meaning and Symbols of Christianity to watch shows like this and then be willingful to discuss them. That's what I mean, that I'm a bit shocked. Not really upset, as I'm shocked there aren't more people
I don't
to
think
be
it's possible
open
though,
kind of
because
experiences.
I don't think it's about like literally just getting, a certain base level of academic understanding. I think that I don't know where this idea comes from. Maybe Carl Jung, but there's an idea that people are at different times. So there's people who are
Definitely.
20 years ago, 50 years ago, 100,
Hmm.
and there's people who are like in the future. And so when you share something and it's with
Yeah.
somebody at like a different time, somebody who's like 20 years ago, they see this thing, it doesn't make sense. They don't have any of the axioms to get there.
Yeah, correct. But what I'm trying to say is that being such a large group of people, I would have
There should be
expected
some.
there should be some, exactly. Not all
I
of them, definitely not all of them. It would be boring if it would be too much if everybody would do this. Definitely no, just a few. I was
so
expecting a few.
so there's certainly going to be there has to be people on Peterson Academy who have that like it wouldn't take much for them to do that, to start engaging in that way. What I wonder is then, like, what is the in for them? What is the motivation to do that? Like
Just
that's why
finding like-minded people.
just finding like-minded people. But
Yeah, because they're
this
not
is
easy to find in real life. I mean, for me at least, it's very difficult to find in my real life like-minded people. I need to find large groups of people like Peterson Academy is to be able to have this sort of conversations that I now have with you.
well, but well, I think that the most exceptional people are often doing things. So
Mhm.
so like when it comes to like the idea of like sharing a video for other people, the people who are like the most interesting, they're actually doing stuff. So when they think about sharing stuff, they're also calculating like, well, what am I getting from that? Now you're saying, well, then you can connect with more people, but
Yeah,
they're
you don't
already
getting from that. If you have a partner with whom to discuss ideas, and to bounce off ideas of a certain movies, because this kind of artistic movies, generally people see them in different ways because they trigger different stuff in different people. And then by discussing the different triggers and what you got from it, you create basically something new and you gain new ideas. And this is actually the secret on how to create art, by discussing interesting stuff and just by playing with ideas. Because as an artist, I think you need to learn how to access your inner child, but you're not going to play with toy soldiers now. You're going to play with these very interesting ideas and see what can come out of them. And in a way, that's why, like my paintings, I say they are stories and they are like philosophical experiences, because you can look at the painting and there are some characters in there, and there is a like a stage, like a scenario, and you just can make your own story depending on how you feel that day and how the light shines on the canvas, because different lights, warmer, cooler lights, give you different feelings. I don't know, yeah, because again, see, it depends on each individual. But for individuals like me, who I have very good friends and they're lovely people, but they're completely blind to art. So yeah, it's very difficult to progress in art, I think, if you don't have somebody with whom to bounce off ideas.
Well, I think that this model, that the way to do art is to play,
Yeah, yeah.
is interesting, but I feel like if you add the kind of momentum or movement part to it, like actually doing something, not just like when two people come together and they talk just for the sake of talking, I don't think that is as interesting
No,
as
no, but
going
sometimes people
somewhere.
come together and actually talk interesting stuff and play with ideas while they talk, and that is really worth the while.
But
It's also,
but but
yeah,
like but
yeah, no, go on.
but like when play, there's even in play there has to be some kind of direction. And when I say direction, I don't mean necessarily like explicitly understood. Like in music, music is like these abstract concepts. I think when
Mm-hmm.
people listen to music, they're actually gaining information. So when an
Yeah,
artist
I agree.
engages, when an artist is like making music, there's implicit meaning in that because they're creating abstract structures which are helpful to humanity.
Yeah.
But but like if you're talking about people sort of sitting around and playing with ideas, maybe talking about like movies, art and stuff like this, I think there's two ways to do it. One way where where it's sort of a kind of like entirely play, like where you're just kind of interfacing with it. And then there's another way where
Improvising.
you're going, yeah, you're going somewhere. You're
Yeah, but you should go somewhere. That's what I mean. You should always be. This play is not just to pass time. It's more like you play to improvise a story. You play to create a scenario. You play to better understand an idea. To
okay, but
let your
where
mind go somewhere it hasn't gone before. This is
well,
why you play, and this is why it should always be the purpose of playing.
I would contend though that when you can articulate to people where to go or how to like meta figure out where to go, when that problem is solved, then the other problems get solved. Like in Peterson Academy, when people understand how to why they're going somewhere, where they're going, then automatically they start engaging in our art. I think that's the core problem to why people don't participate more
Maybe,
artistically.
yeah, maybe you're right, because for me, to be fair, I always knew where I was going, so I tend to overlook this situation since I haven't actually struggled with it. But
Where do
probably
you
a lot of people struggle with finding a direction. For me, it was always very, very clear.
Where is your direction?
Well, it was very mathematical from the beginning. In communism, it was bad. And then my parents told me, yeah, we understand you want to create art, but you need money to survive and have a good life. And we really struggled, and we don't want you to struggle. So and I said, yeah, okay. So then if you say so, all right. So I've done my struggled a little bit, that I've gone through school and I've done my studies and I got a good job, and then I've worked towards this good job. And I've paused the arts because I've only gotten into arts less than 10 years ago. In the meantime, I've done a little bit when I was little, and then I've completely stopped. And then what really helped me a lot is that for 2 years when I was in high school, I've done drama lessons. And I've done the proper Stanislavski's, the method, which teaches you how to draw from your life experiences, how to understand your emotions, and how to basically sit with them. Because you need to very, very good understand them. Because as an actor, then you're going to have a play, and then you read the script and you try to understand the character, and then you remember how you felt in maybe similar situations, and then you draw from those feelings to use them on stage.
Yeah.
So it's very, yeah,
Well,
it was very good because I've learned it very early in life. And it was something that I was doing for fun. So that I think allowed me even more to embrace the whole experience. And that's where I also learned to do this play with ideas, as I was saying. Because when you are a group, we had a lot of improvisation exercises where we would just, yeah, for example, we would sit in a circle and somebody would think of something and naturally go on the stage and sit in one position trying to be part of an object, and then the other people will look at it, and when somebody got an idea, we'd go and sit in a position to complete the object. And then at one point all of us would be part of that object, and then we would discuss what we saw, what we felt, how we understood, and a lot of times you kind of got it right from what the first person wanted to express. We've done a lot of fun exercises like this. But yeah, as you say, I should really consider more. Maybe not too many people have the experience of playing like this with ideas. But it's a pity. Yeah, and I don't think it's very difficult to teach or learn how to think in this manner.
well,
To be fair, without tension, it's about letting go of the tension, really. When you let go of the tension, that's when you really play, and it just grows, like how is it, the jack and the beans.
mm-hmm,
Yeah, the ideas just come together and grow like that when it's a good group that works good together.
mm-hmm.
I was blessed to find a few groups like that, to be fair. Yeah, it's really something. But they are difficult to find.
The artist, yeah, does that does work. It is like it is a model, like society is going somewhere, and then you're interfacing with it, kind of playing with it, improvising, bouncing off of it to a way. But if society doesn't know where they're going, and then what are you playing with? Because um there needs to be something to actually work with. It seems to me like there's a shadow cast from artists to society or society to artists, and that shadow is that there is that there is
You know how people say about the artist that you don't really produce anything, and to be worth living in society, you should produce something? I think that's also like a mentality problem, and a lot of pressure and shame that is being put upon the artist that doesn't really help with the creative process.
yeah, yeah. Well, I I think that an artist can produce artwork alone, and that can be beneficial to society.
I agree, but I don't think it's a general society thinking. I don't
Well,
think that's how society usually thinks. And that is part of the struggle of the
well,
artist. Because as you say, the artist knows and the artist understands the value, but people around don't really understand it. And I found, to be fair, the more I've studied and the more I study here at Peterson Academy in specific, the more difficult it is to find people with whom I can actually talk. Otherwise, I kind of have to walk on eggshells and choose my words carefully, because then I can see that I'm losing them. I get into stories and stuff, and I'm absolutely losing them.
because they have this different perspective of artists.
Because they just don't get it. It's not even there's no perspective there. If it's a different perspective, there is a common subject we can discuss, and there's not an issue. But
Wait,
usually it's nothing.
what do you mean by that?
It's just nothing.
Like they're not
The
doing
groups
anything?
of people I have around me have been to an art museum probably like 20, 30 years ago, or in school.
Well,
And they just listen to BBC radio or stuff like that. They don't really dig for music on the internet.
this is what I wonder though, because like you're expressing that society, a large part of society
They
views
don't even know we're
artists.
there. I mean, this is what I mean. In order to know whether you like or agree or disagree with something, you first need to know it's there. But yeah, most of the people I have around me, they don't know we actually exist.
I wonder though if that shadow, like, or no, I wonder if that problem is because there's a shadow, you know, there's a lack of connection between society and artists because society views.
Yeah, and there's a loss of meaning in art. I mean, when you go back to Led Zeppelin, that music told you something. You vibrated with it. Nowadays, that kind of music, I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but it's definitely not on the radio.
Hmm.
It is in the internet. No, there are very cool contemporary artists that I like, but not really on the radio. Very rarely you find them
Uh-huh.
marketed. It's a competition for who shines the brightest, I think, rather than who brings meaning. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just too much information, and people are just can't be bothered. It's too much to search in to find something meaningful, and they just don't bother to search anymore.
I think people don't think artists are doing anything useful, but like
Mm-hmm.
that is the exact problem that artists could solve. Artists could show like, well, we're doing this, but artists don't though. Artists don't show people like we're building society. And like that would be.
But you know how to articulate yourself and how to express yourself, and very few people who teaches you in school to express yourself properly and to read books in order to learn how to articulate properly your ideas. People don't learn that anymore. Conversation is an art, and you need to master that art in order for to even have the pretense for the world to understand you.
Mhm.
And yeah, the artists that I've spoke with, they're not very articulate, to be fair.
Well, I wonder though if like every single problem along the way could then be folded back into, well, that's something artists can work on. So like you say, people can't articulate themselves. Well, that's something artists can work on. Now I'm talking about artists in many domains, like artists broadly speaking, not
Yeah,
just painting, but like, artists could, that's what I think like a good movie would do. A good movie would show people like, well, this is how artists can actually articulate themselves. They show you like, oh, I didn't know how to do that, and then now I know how to do that.
yeah, there is this movie called Swiss Army Man, and it's with Daniel Radcliffe out of all actors. And he basically plays a body that is also a Swiss Army. man instead of a knife because he's a man, not a knife. Oh no, my battery is
Oh.
running out.
Ooh. Okay, well let's end it here then because
Yeah, do you want to take the break or end it here abruptly? Or you can
uh
finish?
yeah, we could take a break. If do
Like
you want to like end
15
the
minutes
recording
break?
and then restart it or what?
Yeah, just a quick break so I can make a tea and bring on a cable.
Sure, sure. Okay.
Yeah, and I'll reconnect in 10-15 minutes. Oh, we've been talking for 2 hours already, but I still think we should reconnect to do like a proper ending.
Yeah, yeah, okay, okay.
Yeah? Okay
Yep.
then. I'll send you the trailer to this movie in the meantime.
Sounds good.
So you see what I'm talking about because it's difficult to explain. Okay, I'll call you back in like I'll log in back in 10-15 minutes.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Mm. Okay, so the thing that we were I think the last thing that I was saying was that like I wonder if people have kind of lost trust in artists
I
because
think so, yes.
it seems like people are like, well, the modern art, even the term modern art, you know, is like often to describe abstract art. And people say about it, they're like, yeah, artists are, there's nothing to it. Because artists also like, paintings get sold for lots of money and they're like just a white picture with like a black dot or something. And people are like, what? There's no objective value anymore.
I think it's fine to, I mean, because you have Kandinsky, which is basically just lines and dots, but it's in the colors with Kandinsky and the ones that painted like him. And I think now because the ready-made colors are very easily available, that also takes something away from art. What I paint and the colors that I use, I grind the pigments with oils and I do my own colors, and they're much more vibrant. And they're all organic and like gems, lapis lazuli and malachite, and the siennas and ochres and the ambers. And they kind of organically work together because all of them come from nature. They kind of interact nicely with each other, regardless which ones you use, because they come from earth, they're all organic. The synthetic ones are very, they catch your eye, but they're kind of fighting each other, and it doesn't give a calming feeling when you look at those. As you say, a few dots is just exactly as you say, what am I looking at?
Hmm.
Whereas in Kandinsky or in the ones that were painting with the points, it's a music in those colors,
Hmm.
and you're looking at the music basically, even though it's just dots. They have music in them, and it's different.
Right. It's interesting because classical paintings that have like clear subjects and make sense when you look at them, they also have properties that people would say like there's a good one and a bad one. Like
Hmm.
this one is composed right. It has like the right geometry, it has the right proportions, the right color matching. And like abstract art is like that. You just take away the subject. It's like, well, this is good composition. There may not be a
Yeah,
clear
yeah,
subject, but
exactly.
yeah.
It's about the composition, not the subject precisely, that
Hmm.
makes good art.
Yeah. That idea of like an ending to the video. It's a, I don't I guess I don't think in those terms. Like I know musically like a good song always has an ending of some kind. But
Hmm.
like I'm just like doing something and then I'm not doing it. And I mean, that's even how I listen to music. Like I listen to music and then I just stop.
In a way, yes, correct. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not good. Not good with endings either. Ending a painting is also weird, you know, because it isn't a bit like, I don't know, is this saying around the artist? Because you kind of know you've ended a painting when you know that if you add another brush mark, you might ruin it, and it's better to leave it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, going back to feelings as we started.
Is there like a thing with um art that you find that there's the comedians, I think Louis C.K. talked about this, like he feels like with his jokes there's like a like wine, you know, you ferment it for a bit, but then if you do too long, like it kind of goes bad. Like
Yeah,
there's this kind of
yeah,
like there's like
I
the
know
stage where it's good, and then if you do too much,
it's
then
bad.
you've like you've overkilled. You think that's true?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. That's why I was saying in the beginning, I was really struggling to get away from just doing geometry because it was just, yeah, too much geometry, and there was no message to it precisely.
Hmm. Do you find this is what I find with
Just the same thing. So now, even though my paintings are still geometric, they are and they aren't because it's the forms are more organic.
uh-huh.
And with the jokes, it should be the same. You deliver when you read the room. It should be something organic with the jokes too.
Hmm.
If you have good ideas to prolong the suspense, it works. But when your idea is finished, just accept it and yeah, deliver the joke as you say.
Well, if something is like actually real, that means that when you give it to the audience, they take it, they receive the information, and they actually learn something from it. And so if they learn something from it, that means they can't continue to participate in it. So necessarily, art has to have a phase where it's in and then where it goes
Yeah,
out.
there is this series that I've watched and I really love called Legion. And in a way, to be fair, I am participating in it when I look at that series. And it's absolutely, it goes to these really ancient myths like Plato's, I think it was Plato's cave, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, and then there's the story with the sun shun and the butterfly. You know it? Sun
Mm,
shun is like this Buddhist priest and he's dreaming. And then he's dreaming he's a butterfly and he's flying over a field of flowers. And then he wakes up and for a second there he thinks, because he doesn't really know whether he's Sun Shu who just woke up and was dreaming that was a butterfly, or is the butterfly dreaming that is Sun Shu.
hmm.
And yeah, it's you were saying about, yeah, both changing the perspective of things. And it goes back to the Minotaur theme, because also in there's this very charming demon called Farouk. I think the Minotaur in my painting also is shaped a little bit in accordance with that character, with Farouk. And with art, I think movies, you know, because they're visual, but sometimes also books. But when I find myself in different scenarios in life, I kind of feel like I'm in the atmosphere of that book and I'm like a character in that book. Like in the video games, you have the non playing characters. I feel like that sometimes because you say what is real. If you think it, it is real in a way. And when I was little, there was this story, the never ending story, you know it, with Fantasia and the Treyu. Oh, that is a very good story. And this child is reading the book. And then he has to participate in the book. and imagine new stories, because what was happening was that people were losing contact with their imagination, and fantasia was dying. But if fantasia was dying and there was no imagination, also the humans would die because they couldn't live anymore without imagination. And the child participates in the book and he reimagines, renames the princess and saves basically the world by creating new stories. And I think, yeah, in a way, this is how you can, I think you should properly live an artistic life, by integrating all these ideas in real life and making them real in that sense. And music is the same. I love having always a soundtrack. And going back to the immersive shop, it was very powerful because they had very good music and they would play it very loudly at times in very dark and hazy environments. And it literally felt like you were in a movie, mostly Blade Runner. It was heavily inspired by Blade Runner. And this loud music, you were absolutely there, a character, non playing character, as I said, but you were in there, like in the never ending story in Fantasia.
What do you think we can do on Peterson Academy to create kind of a society of artists that are sharing and building together? Because we
I
do have
think
that a bit. Like it's a bit, but I mean like to actually have more.
the power of example, it's always, I think, the best to go to. I should be posting more, but I've been very, very busy lately. And also, I want to resign by the end of this month and basically stop working at the end of this year. And use my savings for a while to actually try and do something about art, see where that goes.
Yeah.
But do it more commercially in a way. And I really want to also, in this time that I have, I want to take the exams on Peterson Academy because I haven't taken any exams. To be fair, I've listened to all of the classes while I was at work, because my work is very visual, used to be very visual at least. Now it's not anymore, and I can't do it because it's just boring.
Mm-hmm.
I was fine to do the work when I could keep my mind occupied with interesting stuff. But yeah, no, just doing administrative work, I can't. Absolutely not. That's why I was
See,
saying, just, yeah, because I want to create a YouTube channel for geometry and art and how beautifully they come together, and also mathematics. Paper folding, I've been to a paper folding class and it was brilliant, but it was both paper folding and mathematical equations.
do you like Escher kind of geometry, like kind of tiling and patterns like that?
This was more about tiling, because it was, yeah, folding papers and then you got this pattern, and obviously you would tile it to get like a wall. But yeah, I do both styling and both the mandalas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So at
I'm planning to film a few classes on that, because I don't think they're very difficult to do if you are at home and in your own pace, and you can pause a video to actually take your time and draw the lines.
mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't have the patience to teach people in a real time, I don't think. No.
When it comes to teaching, there's like a quality of teaching, right? It, maybe quality is how many things simultaneously the person is doing, because if you're watching a lecturer, like a good lecturer who's teaching, they're talking on basic principles to where like anybody could understand them, and then also hitting at like higher level points to where people
Mm-hmm.
who are more advanced uh get that. What do you think about this? Is an idea in art that I have been like exploring in music. I'm wondering if you have any experience with it at all. Um, I have this concept that like multiplicity in art is kind of a beauty, like how many things you can simultaneously do. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's like, well, it's easy to do few things. You can easily do two things. That's like easy. But if you're doing 150, like where patterns are like harmonizing with each other and like stacking up on top of each other, and um I if there was like a factor to like rate how beautiful something is, I think it could be by how many things it's doing simultaneously. I don't know. Have you thought about that at all?
I think it's the way I see it. It's about the invisible wires that connect everything together more than doing a lot of things simultaneously. Because, but it is as you said, when you do a lot of things simultaneously and you understand a lot of things simultaneously, you start to understand what simultaneously connects everything together. And if you actually extract that essence, is as that essence that is beautiful, because you no longer need a lot of things simultaneously together. You just put the essence that connects all of those things together. And in
Mm-hmm.
art, I think that is beautiful. Like if you take Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody, because that song is very long, it's very beautiful, and it's very different throughout. So you would say there are a lot of things coming together, but they're each coming together in their own turn as an essence when the timing is right. And I think, yeah, both in painting and in music, it should be like this. And I think you can only create things like this when you learn to let go and not try to force it.
Mm-hmm.
And just also because when I'm doing the underpainting in raw umber, I kind of have an idea of the subject that I want to paint and how I want it to look. But then when I start to put in the painting on the canvas, the paint, there will be shapes that will appear in the brush marks, and you can draw on that. And yeah, if I don't pay very close attention to the shape, but rather to the surface and how the dark and the light balance between themselves and the tones around the painting, they kind of start to come together, and they are simultaneously a lot of things happening. And it's also, yes, it's the symbolism, because I think the more I study, and even the political classes that I've taken on Peterson Academy, there is a lot of philosophy in them. And there is, the more subjects I study at Peterson Academy, the more I feel like there's an essence in all of them, and they start to sound in a way the same. I don't know if you've experienced this or how many classes you've taken.
Yeah, I've taken a few. You're saying they sound the same.
I mean, there's an essence to all of them. And to be fair, I think the essence really goes to Sun Tzu's Art of War.
Heard of it. I haven't read it myself.
Yeah, I've read it a few times and I always go back to it. And now, in order to resist for the past few months at work and to be able to resist one more month in that environment in which I no longer feel comfortable at all, I've put a quote from there. Let's see if I can remember it. It's if the general fails, it will be no, or the five dangerous traits of the general are. And it was something like the one who is too brave and wants to be a hero is in danger of being quick and eager to die. The one who loves people can be easily hurt. The one who gets angry easily will act in haste. Oh, and I don't remember the other ones. Yeah, the one who's afraid of dying will act like a coward. and it is really the essence. And if you listen to politics, if you listen to philosophy, if you listen to psychology, they will tell you the exact same things. And also, yeah, one of my favorite quotes from Sun Tzu is that if you want your army to travel 100 kilometers or 1,000 kilometers and don't become fatigued, you should travel unoccupied terrain. And that's what the painting with the dragon in the sky and the psychedelic geometry is about.
What, sorry, would you say you should travel what in the rain?
Unoccupied terrain. Because you have the road, but there's nobody on the road. The dragon is traveling in the skies on the unoccupied terrain.
Oh, yeah. Terrain. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And also is Sun Tzu, another, this I think goes very well with everything that's happening at Peterson Academy, is that he says that if you know yourself and your enemy, then in 100 battles you will not be in peril. If you know yourself but you don't know your enemy, then sometimes you will win and sometimes you will lose. But if you know neither yourself or your enemy, you will be in peril in all the battles you're going to find yourself in. And it's so true, to be fair. And in a way, that's what the Minotaur painting is about. That you need to know really yourself, your darkest sides, and everything about yourself, and always have the courage to go there downstairs, go
How can
down the labyrinth, and
what is
discuss with your shadow, you know?
what would be the shadow that would be the most useful to engage with the students on Peterson Academy? Like, what would be the darkness that artists could to address, or the problems that could be solved?
What problems do you refer to?
The problem I can think of is that that there feels like there's a disconnect between culture and artists, where artists,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know,
Well, to be fair, if I post my art, I do try to explain what it is about in a few words to give context to people what they're looking at.
hmm but I mean, like, culturally, like, there's because you presented the idea that you lead by example, which is like
Yeah,
generally
actually,
a
I
wise
try
thing.
to talk about my culture and what I've discovered as a culture. To be fair, I am actually, because I didn't have a very good relationship with the church, so I think I've ruffled a few feathers in the Christian community on Peterson Academy. But it is a bit much. I'm sorry, it is a bit much.
How did you do that?
Christianity
I
posts.
didn't see it.
Well, if you sit on the quad, there are a lot of Christianity posts, and it feels a little bit. When I was a little Orthodox church, is not very friendly.
What did you say though that ruffled feathers?
I don't remember. There was somebody who posted about the new Earth theory, and I brought in some sciences, and I really think I've upset a few people. I've done a few posts about Marilyn Manson. I mean, I think this is the top of the top as you can go with Christian community if you want to be the enemy.
It kind of feels like Marilyn Manson was the peak of that. I mean,
Oh man,
like
he's the
I don't
absolute
see
best.
rock
I love him
stars.
so much.
I don't see rock stars now that are that.
No. And it's really funny. You know what I find funniest about Marilyn Manson? I think his song and the video of which one was it? I think Mechanical Animals or the Dope Show. No, not the Dope Show. The one with the policemen in pink that were kissing, and he's dressed in the androgen latex suit. It's either Mechanical Animals or Beautiful People.
Oh, I don't know him. I haven't listened to his
Oh
music
my
much.
God, that song. I mean, it's like if you go back and look at the video and today's world, it is like, oh, that he really literally foresaw it. It's exactly there.
Do you think like the approach that I'm suggesting of like artists isolating problems, bringing awareness to them is effective, or should it remain abstract and ethereal kind of?
I mean, no, it should be abstract, but abstract is an art because, again, like abstract should extract the essence from all the things coming together. Only if you manage to properly abstract the essence of them all and give that interpretation to the world, then the world will understand and will vibrate and resonate with it. If you're not able to properly abstract things, and how can you abstractize properly something if you don't know how to solve an equation?
Mm-hmm.
That's again where I say science should be. And look, arts and science used to be hand in hand. In the Masonic symbols is the compass that's on the churches. It's the most respected thing, the compass and geometry, and everything comes from geometry. Because geometry teaches you how to understand the relationships between things. And abstract, that is the true art of abstract.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you were asking, I forgot what you were asking. You were saying about
This is what it is. My feeling with art is that I think there I think that I said this at the beginning, but I think that artists don't know how to start, where to go, what to do, how to like track that meaning. Uh like lots of people do artistic things and then they're like not engaging in it. And I think that like the amount of art a culture does is directly correlated to how well it's doing, because if you can do, it's like a Maslow's hierarchy thing, like
mm,
if you can do art, then you're doing well because you've solved all the base needs, because it's at the
yeah,
highest level. So my feeling is that people are incredibly alienated from art. People aren't interested in it. People the movies, I don't think people are as interested in movies now as
yeah,
they
because
were.
there aren't good movies anymore. This year, it was
Mhm.
only one movie that I really wanted to go and see, as I said, so it's not really one movie a year. It's very, very little. Of course,
Right.
people are no longer interested.
So like this is maybe close to the essence of a problem abstracted
And
out, the
you
problem
know, yeah,
being.
if you look back, there were art movements. There is no art movement anymore.
What do you mean by that? Art
I mean,
movements.
there were art movements. There were the Impressionists, the
Yeah.
Cubists, and they would come together, as I say, in those coffee shops, and they would discuss. And there was this with the Surrealists. There was the Blue Horse magazine, in which they were printing thoughts and art and paintings that they were doing, and it was like a movement. Now it's just, yeah, you go in galleries and people, some paint like Van Gogh, some paint like Monet, some paint traditionally, some paint really abstract, as you say, three dots. It's an amalgam of everything.
Maybe arts went through like almost like a death cycle because you know this the original art, they used to be trying to get better at like painting realism, so they would try to do that better, and then they became interested in like kind of other forms of art, more Picasso, more abstract, and then like you're saying, like these different movements, cubism, pointillism, different things went
But
along.
all of them showed you how to look at the world differently and
Yeah,
how to
yeah.
see those colors and how to understand the world around you. Whereas nowadays it's about something that will nicely go on the wall. It's not about bringing a new perspective. And yes, going back to Lynch brought a new perspective in cinema, and he's like this sweetest man, but all his movies are really, really dark. And because his movies go back to what Peterson says, only if you have the courage to look very deeply in the darkness, you will find the light. And very few artists nowadays have the courage to look in the darkness. Because yes, I had to go to engineering school and I had to work in a corporate, but everything it's like the hero's journey. And it's again like Peterson says, you must enter the world as a fool and accept the journey and the suffering as a redeemer, not as a punishment or an obstacle or something that will bring you down, but something that you need to overcome in order to really become who you are supposed to become. And it's really funny because you say about exotericism. I study Yodorovsky and tarot. And in what Yodorovsky says and how he interprets the tarot cards, it's this exact same thing. The first card in tarot is the Fool, because we all enter the world as fools. And then you go to like the first 10 cards in the major arcana with the pictures on the cards. It's like the material world, which you have to traverse. And then you have the Wheel of Fortune in the middle, and then is the force that comes after the Wheel of Fortune, because you need the force to move the Wheel of Fortune and to decide your destiny. And then you enter into the next cycle, which are 10 more cards, and these cards are about rebirth and spirituality. And at the end, it's Le Monde, the world, is the last card, when you would have traveled the whole distance, but you will never reach to the serenity of Le Monde if you don't do the journey. And it's with a lot of hardships. The journey always is with a lot of hardships. How many artists nowadays accept the hardships? And it's not just the artists, because even what you were describing earlier, it goes the same from engineering. It was very difficult after I graduated the Polytechnic University to find a job, because everybody wanted me to have experience. And I didn't have any experience. And everybody was sort of abusing the new graduates, because we were desperate for a job and we will take a small income and stuff like this. So it's not easy in any area. There's no golden road. And usually the Wizard of Oz is always just a show of smoke and mirrors. You work so hard to get and work for a company, and then you discover it's actually bullshit. And everywhere there will be mean people. And I've been working as a mechanical design engineer for about 17 years. And to be fair, it's always been like a few years in a very good team with shiny, happy people, and everything was jolly. And then somebody left and some nasty character came into the team, or we were under a manager that was really nasty. And then 2-3 years, it was absolutely horrible and depressing. And then something changed again, and again it was nice, and it just looped like this. And I think life, in every area just loops between. It's like the alternative current going on a sinusoidal trajectory. And you need to just accept that. The I Ching, which is like the Chinese version of the tarot, and it goes back to, I don't know, 500 years before Christ, or more than that.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the same thing. You need to accept that life has ups and downs, and when you are up, you need to prepare yourself, because it will not last for very long. And when you are down, you need to know that you have resources.
Yeah.
And again, the sun will shine again, and you
The I
mustn't.
Ching like tried
Yeah.
to encode different times, like different moments in time as like quality,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like this moment in time is like something, and then the next moment of time is a different thing, I think. But so that's true that there's a cyclical thing, but there's also, I don't know if you know Alfred North Whitehead in Concrescence. There's a thing that happens where ideas merge. This is kind of what
Mm-hmm.
happens in
Yeah.
society. Like you have things and they merge, and then you have things and they merge. And then there's also like a death cycle that happens
Mm-hmm.
where things will die, and then new things will kind of rebirth from it. So, um, it really feels like even though there's a lot of cyclical things, it feels like right now art, it feels like that there's a serious cultural problem with people not caring at all about artists, and what they're doing. And I wonder if that's because of like what I was describing before, because there is this story, this arc in art where they did all these things, and then in the same thing that happened in philosophy, where in philosophy the way everything kind of exploded in multiplicity, because it's like all these different perspectives, like cubism and pointillism.
Yeah,
You have
yeah,
different perspectives and stuff, but it at some point, like, you have like it explodes into like all the perspectives, and then you get to this final stage perspective, which is that it's all kind of arbitrary. That's kind of like a final stage, and you see that like in modern art with sort of the absurdism art movements and stuff, where there's like this almost a malaise over art. It feels where anything is kind of legitimate, kind of, but that may not be true in art, but that's how people perceive it. This is like when I
hmm,
talk to people about art and stuff, that's their common contention is like, yeah, but like good to you, not good to you. What people care, what like general people that are not like in the art movement seem to care about most is like they identify the quality of art as like how realistic it looks and stuff like this, which to me is like not the most interesting aspect. I'm more interested in the symbolism, the composition and stuff.
yeah,
But it just seems like there's this disconnect, and artists could be working on bringing society and artists back together.
yeah. Because I think you need to have some cultural background to understand symbolism, and without it, it's very difficult to.
Well, then it becomes an esoteric niche where if artists are like kind of creating things which has symbolism that other artists can appreciate, but it doesn't help society, then
You really need to watch Twin Peaks if you're into symbolism. It will blow your mind.
watch what?
You need to watch Twin Peaks if you're into symbolism to really blow your mind. And it's so the detail of symbolism in it, and it's
I,
everything. It's in the details.
I'm not hearing the word though. What's the title of it?
Twin Peaks.
Twin Peaks. Okay.
Yeah, I'll send you the link. It's very, yeah, and it would be interesting to actually, because I plan to rewatch it too. It will be interesting to discuss it, what you understand of what's going on in there and in that world.
Yeah, yeah.
It's very, yeah, symbolism, but yeah, I think you need to. Not many people dream, you know.
You mean
I mean,
actually
like
dream?
during the night, actually remember your dreams. And another good that when you see, because I've seen these movies and they've really changed my life. And I don't remember when I saw Arizona Dream. I was really young. I didn't understand much of it, but the feeling that it was very important, the message of the movie, it was just the feeling that there was a very important message in it. And it's yeah, I've rewatched it recently, and it's basically that life is a dream. You need to understand that life is a dream, and if you want to do something, especially as an artist, you need to have the courage to dream, and you need to have the courage to dream impossible dreams that you are conscious that it's very unlikely that they will become real, but you will just dream them for the fun of it and try to get there somehow. And getting there, that's the thing, because you mustn't force it. You must accept what comes along and use what comes along.
Mm-hmm.
Because life does throw experiences at you. I'm looking back at my life. I did, as I said, with uh, art foundation where I've done the drama lessons. I could have not gone. For 2 years I woke up at 7 o'clock every weekend to go there, and I was there most of the days, both Saturday and Sunday. So it was a lot, took a lot of effort, and I got a lot of reward for it. But I was always also willing to sacrifice my sleep in my weekends of hanging out with other friends, just to be
Mhm.
there and do this. And as an artist, as you were saying, bringing a lot of stuff together, I think as an artist, you should accept experiences like this that life presents you with to grow, both as a person and as an artist.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree for sure. Um, what do you think about um the meeting length? I think we've been going for since 5 to 8 o'clock, 3 hours, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I think, yeah, it should be. I'm getting a bit hungry, to be fair.
Yeah. I had some food on the
Yeah.
in between break,
Oh,
but yeah.
yeah. And I'm sorry I woke you up so early. I didn't realize yesterday that you said 5 a.m. I thought it was 5 p.m. and I thought, oh, great.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I don't really mind. I kind of I I am interested in playing with different states sometimes, like fasting or staying awake, because I think it invokes like a different
It
place
does,
you
yes.
go mentally. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, this was really interesting. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, we should talk again.
Yeah, I'd love that. And I'm curious to see the other people that you've
Absolutely.
spoken
Yeah,
with.
I talked to somebody else about art as well.
When are
So
you going to start releasing the videos?
I actually just released one.
Ah, okay.
Um, I
I need
did.
to look on the quad then.
Yeah, yeah. And then yeah. What do you think would be the best time for like I guess I can end the recording now because
Yeah,
now
I think now, yeah.
yeah, okay, I'll end it.